Welcome to Money Convos, where we discuss personal finance and investment tips. We're committed to helping people create wealth and achieve financial freedom. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube and podcast. Alright then, let's head into today's conversation.
Hi Lee, how you doing? We'll be starting very soon. Just wait in a few moments for other speakers.
Yeah, I'm good.
Hi Lee, how you doing?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm great. In fact, please let me know how we should refer to you. Delali or how do you
Lee,
prefer
Lee
to
is
be known?
fine. Lee is fine.
Lee is fine,
Yeah.
Charlie. You think I'm good with Chinese levels?
Oh,
Or is it South Korean?
Oh, if you the local name now, I just say most quite they like leave the Lee out, so I want it emphasized. So
I feel you. You are contrarian like that. Okay, I feel you. Okay. Mimi, I see you in the audience, bringing you up so you can check your notifications. So yeah, Dolly, how have you been? How was your week?
It's been quite okay. Yeah,
Okay.
it's been quite okay.
Oh, cool. I don't think we allowed you to do an introduction last week. So would you like to tell us a little about yourself before we continue?
Oh, okay. It's mostly easier when answering questions. Anyway, so I'm Delali, by the way, and like I said, Lee actually comes from the fact that people prefer shortening my name and leaving the Lee out, and I want to be referred to as Delali most of the time.
Okay, nice. And what do you do? Do you have a plug you want to put in? you get what I mean?
Yeah, so I'm an artist actually, but for now I'm into graphic designing.
Okay, that's nice. Creative. Okay, that's good. Speaking of someone who is not creative artistically, Mimi, how are you doing? Shots fired.
Are you seriously kidding me?
Oh no, you see. Maybe the thing is I've missed you. Maybe we've not had one of our long conversations in a minute. This weekend, let's try and find some time.
You matter.
How are you doing? How's the week going so far?
Charlie, Eshim, we are inside. Taking it a day at a time. I've eaten quite a good amount of Ghanaian chocolate. I'm looking forward to some foreign chocolate.
Hey, I thought you said I thought this was heading towards like, so I'm going to work extra hard in the gym. Okay, I see what you are doing there. Okay, I'll file them up for you. Oh no.
Make sure sponsors.
Hey, you know what? I need to check if this was part of your 2023 goals.
It wasn't.
If it was one of them, because it wasn't. How convenient. Please, we still won't allow you to stop that. So you need to get back on.
I have to do a go fund me to fund that activity.
To fund the gym.
I guess it.
Okay, see, I have an idea for you.
Was it?
I have an idea to make you free. What kind of exercises do you do in the gym?
Oh, and yeah, okay, I do a
Come again?
a lot of things I can do at home. It's just a discipline.
The discipline, no problem. We'll do this, okay? We can get somebody who has dogs. Okay, then you can go and park your car somewhere far away from home, and then the dogs will chase you home, or they can chase you around your house in the compound, whichever one you like. We'll just make sure that they don't really bite you, just nibble at you small. That will keep you running.
I'm serious.
Anyway, moving on. So yeah, welcome everyone to today's conversation. Today we are going to talk about the black tax and the black tax in hard times. I remember there was a time I think it was September 2021, we had a conversation with Desmond on Desmond Space about black tax. This time we are revisiting the topic, but with more in the lens of, as times are hard, how are people managing this? Because there are demands. Then, of course, we will define what the black tax is. Not a lot of people know what it means. We all go through, most people go through it, but they don't know what it means. So we'll get into that a bit. So if you've joined us, welcome again, and feel free to join in on the conversation at any time. I'm curious to see how it affects you. You may have younger siblings that you take care of, or you may be DB like Mimi, so however it goes, we'd like to hear your perspectives on this, and hopefully we'll come out of this conversation with tips of how to manage these expectations on us. I'll start with a definition of black tax. I found it on Investopedia and I found it quite useful. It says the black tax refers to the financial burden borne by black people who have achieved a level of success and who provide support to less financially secure family members. I think that's a good one. It means maybe you grew up in a certain community or in a certain family, you weren't so well to do, but you were maybe first to go to college or university, or you've gone further than everyone else. So as you've gone further and you start making money, everyone kind of supported you to get where you are. So there's an expectation that you also support other people. You get me? So that's around that's what the black tax is talking about. Any other perspectives? Let's start with maybe any other way you would explain black tax if somebody asks you, or any examples?
I think that yes, most of the time black tax comes from relatives that, or maybe like if you were from what word did you use? Is a less fortunate background, but sometimes it comes as a result of a lack of planning or a misfortune, and so they could have been doing well, but maybe you get to your retirement and things are not as good as they used to, and as a result you may have to take care of your parents or any kids that were not, let's say, they weren't able to take care of before they retired, or if maybe everything was fine till maybe the breadwinner or something happened to the person, and then so it's not always like as a result of you being broke from the onset, but it could be something that happens with lack of planning or as a result of a misfortune, something unexpected.
This angle you've brought to it, I guess I've known this, but I've never actually thought about it exactly the way you have. It's not just you may have been growing up, everything rosy, and then suddenly, boom, somebody dies, a business goes bad, there's a fire, something happens, and now you're forced into this kind of situation. That's an interesting one. Lee, how about you? Any thoughts on the black tax?
Well, until today, I've not actually heard of black tax, but I could relate with the definition you gave, and I think Mimi has also expanded more on it. So that's just about it. But then what I may add is probably say a circle of friends where you might feel obliged to help, or you feel the burden of other friends who probably you grew up with and maybe are lacking behind. So they also put the burden on you of trying to also help them come up in life.
That's a good point, and it segues to the next part. Like, who are we paying this black tax to? The money is definitely not going to the government, right? But just a moment before we get there, it's just thinking a little deeper about what Mimi was talking about in terms of unexpected things that happen. I think about an example of a friend when we were in uni. That everything, things were rosy, Charlie. They had cars, they had businesses, they had a house. Then business went bad, and suddenly they were put in this kind of situation. They had to, let everything. They had to sell a lot of their assets just to hang in there. Their whole family situation just went south. So each child, as they were coming out, fortunately, most of them were out of university and were starting to, in university or about to finish university. and were about to start finding a job, so they had to support the younger ones. I'm sure that's something a lot of people can relate to, having to support your younger siblings. And the key thing here is how being unprepared for these kind of events. So it makes me think about all the other things that we talk about under personal finance, retirement planning, emergency funds. And I know, in these times, I'm saying this and I'm just looking at what's going on in the investment market, in the investment industry. I'm like, someone will be looking at me from the corner of your eye, but we did all those things and our money is still locked up, right? I know. But still, keeping in mind that sensitivity, I think we should still put in these kind of structures in place to make sure that we are somewhat protected. Some protection is better than none, right? So yeah, I guess that's kind of like strategies to prevent it in the first place. But we are thrown into this place. We are calling it a black tax. Tax there, we know that we give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. So who is the Caesar in this situation? Who are we paying these taxes to? Lee started off with with something that a lot of people may not even think about. It's the kind of friend groups that you are in. Oh, you got into this place. So yeah, my brother, you're my sister, Charlie, help me, or you're my friend, help me also get into that kind of situation. Any other examples? And this question, I'm throwing it to all our audience. Please feel free to jump in there, have a conversation. Very soon, I'll be asking for some quite specific examples of bills that people are paying. So feel free to request the mic, join us up here, and share your experiences. So yeah, Mimi, who are we paying these bills to or these taxes to?
Family members will. Lee mentioned friends. But I think with friends, it's not like you are not obliged to, or maybe
Hi, Mimi.
depends on the level of.
Okay, let me mute
Can you hear me?
Mimi. Okay, I think it's better now. Please come again.
I'm saying that most of the time it's family because it's sort of expected. With friends, you can decide not to, and I don't think it will be a big deal. I don't think anyone will call you irresponsible. But with family, it's a bit different. So, yeah, it's mostly with family.
Okay, so friends, family, and it's interesting. Just as Adam popped in here, and I think about some of the things that Adam does in his personal life, I'm curious. Adam, welcome. How you doing? And on the topic of black tax, how about from the church side of things? Do you feel a black tax on the church side of things?
Oh, Elike. I jump inside now, you put on me a sort like that.
Straight into the deep end. Next time you come to class late.
Charlie, the black tax is everywhere. It's everywhere.
Something for the boys, and everywhere, something every time, something for the boys.
And sometimes too, when you find yourself in a certain position that people basically look up to you, and you probably mentor people and all of that. Sometimes I think there's a general problem of entitlement in our parts here, and if you are not careful in how you manage it, you would break your back while trying to help other people. So it's a big issue, and in the church setting, it's tricky because it's the place where we preach about compassion and all of that. And if you are not careful too, people take offense if you are not wise about how you go about probably refusing people help or kind of delaying the help that you could give them. And people take things very wrongly because, I don't know, for some reason, people already have budgets on your money when you yourself, you haven't even balanced your own budgets. So that's how sometimes it can be tricky.
Okay, I feel you. And you need to employ a lot of wisdom. Wow. I was just having a conversation with someone and about how dealing with human beings is quite complicated in any setting, and you have to be sensitive. You have to manage everything. It's like you try to do it this way, then there are complications. You do it another way, there are complications. And I can just imagine once somebody makes a request on you in these kind of settings, boom, it's done. It's unless the person is going to get perfectly what they want, it's always between a rock and a hard place, right? So yeah, that requires some wisdom. Sarah, how are you doing? Welcome up stage.
Hi, Elikim. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Elikim. I'm fine, thank
So
you.
Sarah, that's good to hear. Today I feel some energy in your voice. It's been a while since we had some energy in your voice, considering all that's going on. So I'm happy about that. I'm surprised. I'm curious to hear your take on the black tax, because I know that you have been taxing people, especially during Christmas, to go and eat in their house. So I'm curious to see what you would say as a beneficiary of the black tax Christmas edition.
Yes. So I think I'm aligned with the definitions that have been given so far. When it comes to, Adam was spot on about the church. It's very tricky, especially when in the religious or in the church setting where we preach a lot about generosity and all that. So it's difficult to really say no, because people see you, at least you have a stable job, they assume that everything is rosy, and so there's some level of entitlement. It's sometimes when they ask for something and you're unable to provide, I don't know, people feel like you are not allowed to say no. So that is really a tough one. Then yes, it's always family. I have personally, I had I went ahead of myself to reach out to a nanny who took care of me when I was younger. And this was because she was good to us when we were kids, and it had been years. So I just decided to locate her number and then just call her, check on how she's doing. And then I found out she had a family. And since I made that call, my life has never been the same. Every week, my child is sick. My child is going to school. I need school fees. I've had to block her. That was a self-imposed black tax because it became too much. So yeah, family, friends, old nannies. Yeah.
Wow, these kind of things. Then this example you gave, then it's like you're going out of your way to be generous, and then it goes overboard. We'll delve into it some more when we talk about managing these expectations. We'll circle back to this. Lee, you wanted to say something on this?
Well, since you said we will circle back, but then I think I also had an experience, a similar experience. And it's funny that most of the times you reach out to people you had good times with way back, and then it comes back to bite. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and sometimes people, you want to help people, but from some prior experiences, you go maybe I shouldn't, because everyone is looking for a helper. Once they see that you are a helper, then they keep coming for some more. I just encourage everyone to not abuse the help that people give them.
I think there's
leave space for other people.
Entitlement is sometimes it goes overboard.
Wow, that sense of entitlement. Interesting. Okay, so let's see. What are some of the bills people are paying? I know some people are paying for school fees for younger siblings. Any idea of other bills that people are paying, whether it's or maybe not necessarily bills, but requests that come that we have to honor and we feel the pressure, even if it's requests that we've not honored. What are some of the requests that come through? Who wants to go first?
Well, they are varied though.
Let's give us examples. We want to see examples because I think some people may not have registered in their minds that, oh, wait, this is what's going on, So let's give them some examples.
Okay, so you mentioned issues about helping to pay school fees for younger siblings. I think that's typically very common in lots of families, especially when resources are not so much enough, and especially when you have way younger siblings, when the age gap is quite high, that pressure seems to come on the older people, and sometimes it translates in itself as the older ones having to give up on their academic aspirations for the benefit of the younger ones, so that they cannot probably, maybe they finish SHS, and because of that pressure, they would have to work to be able to help to pay fees for the younger ones who would in turn go to the university or something and continue and finish up. So that's a very typical example that I've seen play out in several families in that case. Then a second example, which I'll use for, people who are within my age range. If you are on the third floor, your parents most likely are growing older, and most people will start to have health complications in addition to the old age. And those health bills can be really expensive. And so that's a very typical black tax that can come on for you. So let me limit it to these two so that others can also talk about others. Yeah.
Those are very good examples. Education and health bills. And with the education part, what's hits home even more with what you said is the opportunity cost, that someone finished high school, instead of continuing on to university, they had to go and work, limit their education so that other people can come and go even further than them. I'm just imagining how some of these things can create bitterness. Because imagine you help your younger sibling, they come past you, and then they are acting some type of way. There are definitely African movies with this kind of tone, but I know people are living the realities of these things, and some people feel highly indebted to other people. Wow, it's beyond the money. It brings a whole lot of emotional baggage with it. Yeah. Okay, let's see. And Lee, how about you? Any more examples? I'm sure now the black tax is now hitting home for you. It's like, oh, okay, I've not heard about it, but these are some of the examples, right?
Yeah, I think Adam. Okay, so he left the rest for us. I won't say he left it out, but he left it for us. I think also, where there's a situation where, so like you came from not so good at home, and then you are outside the country, and then you have to actually provide shelter for those back at home, right? So you end up having to probably be the one to buy land back home, put up a building, and then move the whole family into it. That is one very popular scenario I'm familiar with.
And this matter. So because of that, some people are having to build mansions that they may not be able to afford, or build houses that have multiple rooms because they have to accommodate other people, but they can't afford that. They have to work for so many years just to put up that house. Interesting. Mimi, how about you? Any more examples?
So sometimes the black tax could be for things that you are not buying for yourself. Maybe a lie, or maybe some misinformation can be used to collect the money. So you see the person chilling. Maybe this vows they cry. Some people have sponsored without knowing. So even beyond the important things like school, health, maybe supporting parents because income is not enough, you may be sponsoring 1 or 2 vows day away. Surprises when your own girlfriend hasn't received anything. Anyway.
This matter. I was talking to someone, a friend last year, and she came to the US many years ago after undergrad, got a good job in a good tech company, and she's like, well, some of her friends became millionaires. She looks at her net worth and it's like, it's nowhere near. Why? Because she's funded her older brother's dreams, educational dreams. Not even younger brother, or older brother. and it's interesting, like the kind of things that extends that people have to go to
So,
take care of
sorry
their
guys, I
families.
had a call come through.
Yeah.
So
Okay, no problem. So yeah, some of the things that people have to go through just because it would be like everyone else helped you, and it's like you don't want to help other people, but they keep coming up with all sorts of crazy schemes. Okay, let's fund this business for me. Ooh, we tried pure water business, it didn't work. Let's try what's it called, Calipo business or whatever business. All sorts of schemes just to take money out of your pocket. Meanwhile, you'll be seeing them. They'll go and marry. They'll go and do this. They'll go and do all those things. Meanwhile, you've not done any of those things that they are doing. Quite interesting. Sarah, you wanted to add on to this?
Okay, so I was going to say that Mimi is this Val's Day there. It sounds personal, but that's fine. I wanted to say that another way to that when you look at the black tax that some of because we some of us don't look at it from is the fact that we become the black tax on our parents. So, for instance, you have your parents, and then they, in fact, parents have multiple kids. One of them is probably doing well, the other is unemployed or has other things, and then now these the parents who are nearing their retirement ages are still constantly taking care of these children who should at least by now be of age. So yes, that is also another side to it. It's easy for us to just as though we are always the ones giving, but then sometimes to we the children or yes the young people tend to bill our parents with black tax. I don't know if it makes sense. Mimi, you know the story I'm talking about.
It
I
makes total sense.
Yeah, I know, and I think that yes, that's also a situation that we also have to speak about, because I think that that is also as a result of how we bring up our kids, and so you may be doing that daba, at the end of the day may become a black tax issue for you to handle.
Yeah, that's true. Especially parents who they have the means or they indulge their children. A friend recently shared
And enable them.
exactly enable them. Yeah. A friend recently shared a video. One of these guys on Shark Tank, Kevin O'Leary, and he gave a talk somewhere. And he said when he finished college, his mother told him, "Well, congratulations on your graduation, but you're done. I'm not giving you any money. Again, you have to figure it out on your own." So when he also had children, he told them, "Yeah, they have a trust fund, but it's only for education. You can go and do PhD, like 10 PhDs, as long as you are done with your education. You have to get into the real world to work. Yeah, on your own." So it helped his children sit up. They were shocked when they realized that all their friends, we are all rich. All my friends have trust funds, but my trust fund is built different. I only fund my education, and now he's a brilliant engineer in is it Google or one of these top companies. And Kevin O'Leary was saying that it's because he didn't make the children feel that level of entitlement by taking that trust fund away from them. Stories are told of Bill Gates, of course, at this level. If you did dash with 10 million to the billionaires, it doesn't look like much, but I guess we can't relate to that. Some of these billionaires who signed the giving pledge to give away all their wealth in future, before they die or after they die, to charity, their children are really not going to get much, so it goes to say something about that. But well, back to us who are not millionaires or billionaires just yet. It is a good point. I remember when I was in university, my parents divorced when I was in class 6, right? So my father, I went to visit him in his office in final year or so. Then he asked me, "So when are you moving out of home?" Meanwhile, chairman, I don't stay in your house. What's your problem? It's not your house I stay. Why are you trying to kick me out of my mother's house? Then he made some comments that made it very clear that he's done funding my education. Masters, dear, it won't happen. I will have to fund my own masters. I'm telling you, it changed my perspective to life. it changed my perspective of expectations, because my all throughout my from primary school, my education, yeah, my father, he had an instruction with his bank. When you get a school bill for school fees, just go to the bank. You don't even talk to him. Go to the bank. They give you banker's draft. You move. So that's never been a concern. But he made it very clear. You need to start thinking about moving out of your mother's house. You need to start thinking about how you found your own master. See, he's done with you. And after that, it's all on me. All on me. You get me? Unfortunately, after national service, he spoke loosely one time and promised me to buy me a car. So after I collected that one, me and him were done. You understand? So when I was so it changes people's minds, right? So I totally get you, Sarah and Mimi, on this example that you are giving. So let's move on now. I'm pretty sure people are curious about how we can solve this problem. But at this point, I just want to make some disclaimers. Like, black tax, it's giving back. I want to make a distinction between giving back to people who've helped us, giving back to our family, contributing to our society is different from what we are talking about in terms of the black tax. It becomes a black tax when it's a burden, when it's unsustainable. If Kofi earns an income of 50,000 cedis and he can afford to 50,000 cedis a month, and he can afford to spend 10,000 cedis on his family every month, Kofi may find that sustainable. But if Kojo is earning 15,000 cedis a month and he's spending that same 10,000 cedis or even 8,000 cedis, more than half of his income, on his family and other dependents, then it's quite unsustainable. Kojo will be working so hard and he will still not be seeing himself move. His savings are not growing. Nothing is happening for him. And it's only burdens and people just billing him every time he's receiving a call. Even when times are going well, grandma will go and swallow bleed. It's a lot of mental stress, so it's about when it becomes a burden. That's what we are talking about. But I personally strongly encourage people to give back, help people who help you. Like Sarah was so grateful to her nanny. She reached out, she tracked her down, found her out, tried to show concern. It's good to give back. They say paying forward. That's part of how the world keeps moving forward, out of the generosity of people. So don't end that, but it's when it becomes a burden. That's what we are talking about. So how can we manage people's expectations about the black tax, especially in these tough times? I know some people who've seen their incomes, their employers have reduced their salaries, their incomes. Bonus, they forget about it. A lot of people are not even thinking about getting bonus this year. They've worked and whatever performance is gone to God. You understand? So they are seeing their incomes reduce. Inflation has gone up 54 plus percent has gone up. But they still have these burdens. So can we suggest any strategies on how to manage these expectations? What do we cut as we are thinking through these things? Anyone? Mimi, would you like to go first?
Can I go? Oh,
I
sorry.
think
okay.
that okay.
I think let's let Sarah go first. She's itching for this one. Sarah, take it away.
No, because my alarm is calling me. Let
Sure.
me go. Okay, so one thing that I have decided to do, and I it's a strategy that is working for me, is in my budget, right? I have a goodwill line item in the budget. So what I do is that once I exhaust that, if I have somebody I am funding, so that person goes under that goodwill, and then if there's any extra, it is there for any like other requests that may come, but it is a goodwill. Once that is exhausted for the month, I am then on auto. No, I don't have. No, I don't have. No, I don't have. So that is one way. So you could as well incorporate it in your budget, set a line item, an amount, a cap on it, and then you know that is how that is what you'll be using for such needs. Thank you.
That's a good strategy. You have that budget, you give within your ability, and after that, auto no. That's nice. Mimi, how about you? What do you suggest?
I think having frank conversations help. I don't think they are the easiest to have, but I think they are important. And I think culturally it's something that we struggle with, being able to sit down and tell somebody that actually this is, the situation. I can help, I can't help. Sometimes we bend our backs, especially when it has to do with very close families. You will find people borrowing to be able to solve recurring problems. I did talk to somebody, I think during COVID, that was 2020, and he had taken a loan, he and his wife, to take care of parents' health. And the unfortunate bit is that it was a recurring expense. So that means that now they don't have enough disposable income. They have a loan. That means they can't go and take extra. And they were in a very tight situation. So I feel like sometimes having a candid conversation that this is how far I can go. With health of parents, it's a bit more some style. I mean, you want to know that you did everything to salvage the issue, right? But sitting down and saying that, okay, you expect 1,000, I can give you 500, or I can't give you this money because A, B, and C, or I think a lot of us find it difficult having those candid conversations. So it's something that we should learn to have. And these days, well, I would have said an outright no for some of these things, but I think these are sensitive days. I mean, even people who planned well, have been made to look like they didn't do anything at all. So I feel like we should be a bit empathetic, but let's still be real about what we can do and what we cannot do.
That's powerful. Be empathetic, but be real about what you can and can't do. That's a good point. I like that we are still including this, the sensitivity, the empathy, sympathy in our affairs. Even though we are all in hard times and everyone is being hit hard, we are not just saying, "Well, sorry, jokes on you. Too bad, I can't help." Right. So that's good to hear. Adam, how about you? I can imagine the requests keep coming at you. What are your strategies?
Elikem, I was actually
You know
hoping
it's real when it starts with me.
I was actually hoping to really learn more strategies because I want to. I'm here thinking about someone that I know personally, whose income basically is the lifeline of the family. And this is not somebody who is so he's just making just something small, and it's not this is somebody who is not even 30 years old, and basically the family really looks there's that much pressure from father, mother, siblings, and immediate family. And I'm just wondering how someone like that, whose income is really barely enough to take care of him alone, to also take care of the other person, what strategy that the person adopts. And honestly, for some people, I think I side with what Mimi says. You just have to get to the point where you have some discussions. It's not out of any malice or anything, but you just cannot. Because if you should also break down, then it means then that that source of livelihood that the family depends on is actually now cut off altogether. So some conversations have to be had with some people where they should understand that, I'm doing my best. I'm trying to help as much as possible. But if I break down or lose this source of income, then we are actually much more screwed than we are at the moment. So I think that is one of the first steps for people who are in a situation where it's like they cannot even wriggle room. There's no wriggle room around them. These conversations have to be had, and certain things will have to be cut out. Already, we have all trimmed our budgets, but it's not budgeting because we know that cost of living is at an all-time high. So even the various basic necessities of life are very expensive now. So it will take a lot of planning and putting off a number of things till realistically you can actually do them before you can do them. So I think those honest conversations have a starting point, and then maybe some major things that you have to plan, you may have to push them forward just so that you can afford yourself some room to be able to even afford the basic necessities that we are supposed to be dealing with now. So I think that for me is one of the strategies we can pick up. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Goes back to these conversations, and and what you say about the burden. If the burden chokes somebody such that it affects their ability to even earn the income in the first place, then we are all totally screwed. But yeah, it's again more tones of empathy, having these conversations, agreeing on compromises. That's always a good place to start. Thanks for sharing those. And another thing that I'm wondering about is it's true that these some of these demands are on us, but how about us? Is there, for people who feel the burden of the black tax, is there some kind of behave or lifestyle modifications that we need to make people realize, to make fewer people have certain demands on us? For example, are you talking too proudly among your friends or among your family? Are people seeing you buying new cars, new houses, new clothes all the time? There are certain markets that will draw people to you. Maybe you buy a car instead of normal rims, you buy a car with black rims, and I'm looking at the mirror. Look a little more flashy than maybe you should do. You should, so that you don't attract attention. Like, what's our take on this? Because I'm remembering the conversation we had in 2021 where someone was like, well, they don't see why they should have to reduce the quality of their lives because other people it will just because it will attract other people to ask them for money. They work hard for the money, so they should still be able to live whatever quality of life that they have. Does anyone have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, Elikem, I do think that sometimes the whole Accra packaging thing, may attract or may make people think you are what you are not. I mean, you are packaging for different reasons. I don't know what, maybe to get some lady or some job or whatever, but other people are taking it as if, all your problems are solved and, at least help me solve mine. So I was speaking to somebody and he was like, you know what, the people you see all flashy and there is, you'll be surprised to hear that they don't have money. Those who have money, you would never know. And I feel I'm all for, looking good and all that. But I feel that sometimes, especially when money is new, we tend to, I don't know, I remember some time ago, someone made some money and he was I think someone was telling the person, asking for the person something. He said, don't worry. When you do those things, you're asking for trouble. I have problems. So definitely you have to help me solve my problems. So I think that we should just be a bit careful about what we are saying. When you know that maybe you've hit some 10,000, but that is all there is. It's just a one-off, sikibia wahete. And it's not like a stream of income that you can sustain people's, taste. So we should be careful about what we say. As for looking good and all that, you have to look good. Maybe when they come to you, can explain that, I can't look like trash. But I think that we should be a bit cautious. And once in a while, chip in some. Oh, Charlie, my school fees is coming. Oh, Charlie, unintentionally chipping, one or two sentences to show that easy mouse. But if you're, balling all the time, chilling all the time when your account is is low, then Charlie, we are all going to come with that. But me cry, tell me where you are, I'll come because Charlie, a girl's got to solve some problems.
Okay, we've all been fairly warned. If we look too flashy, maybe we'll come and ask for something. Okay, interested, Mimi. Lee, how about you? I know you are more clued into the Accra and packaging kind of side of social media and things. What do you think?
Charlie, easy. Just like Mimi said, easy. But the funny thing is, people have actually. I know someone who is quite okay, not so much, but then he's okay. But then he has to pretend he's not okay because the least chance family gets, Charlie, bill will come. So he's actually living a downgraded version of his lifestyle, and then some of us in the inner circle are the one who actually knows how he's actually living, because it's like, if I don't control it, it will over him, right? So I like Mimi's suggestion where you have, or it wasn't me, I think it was Serum rather, you have should I say a budget where you make room for such things, and then when it's exhausted, it's exhausted. I personally have a friend who, she will call me like, Charlie, my mom's just keep, and I'm like, let her know that this is what you've budgeted for the month. When it's done, it's done. If you keep making that provision anytime they come, it means you're always going to run low. So like they said, planning, you have to plan. You really have to plan for it, otherwise it will just go overboard, right?
Okay, that's interesting. You have to plan this and manage the expectations as they come at you. Okay, it's been an interesting conversation so far. Adam, I know you had your pen and paper out. I hope you've taken enough notes for yourself and all the other people you engage with. To any member of our audience, if you have any experience you want to share related to the black tax and perhaps a way you've been able to manage it, feel free to just raise your hand before we end so that we could hear your take on this problem. But yeah, we'll start wrapping up soon. But I'm just curious, are there any other experiences that we've not covered in this black tax topic? Anything that anyone has found worthwhile, or a question that they've been asked, like the way Edem has also been asked a question on how to manage a situation? Anyone? Mimi, are your clients having to do parental black tax in the sense that they as parents are having to take care of 30-year-old children, or should I say 30-year-old babies?
I think that one too is also an issue. Especially when people retire, they are not able to manage expectations. Remember that anything we do over and over again becomes a habit. So you didn't manage the expectations of your parents. You probably haven't managed the expectations of your kids. Daddy beggar, you are buying. Daddy this, you are buying. And now they've grown up. They want to have a Kempinski wedding. They've seen your pensions. Some 600,000 is dancing in your account, and they are now having ideas, and you too, you are a church elder. You don't want to disgrace yourself. And then I remember a retiree, just a few weeks ago, I heard a retiree was coming to withdraw money to go and buy stuff for his son's engagement or something like that. Now this man, he doesn't really have money like that. He's just managing small. I'm like, Charlie, go and buy your own things. Why do you have to be worrying your father with, these kind of issues? And some too are buying, like Ellie Kim situation, they are buying cars for their kids. Meanwhile, she can also endorse. So I feel like when these things happen, that's when, when they grow old and they're having a lot of medical issues, they'll come to you because that money they could have saved up, you were doing what you call a Kempinski wedding with it, sitting in big cars and and now they don't have money, So I think that when it comes to our parents, we should be a bit sensitive, especially as they grow old. There's a lot that goes into health bills. So you want to make sure that as much as possible,
you are not squandering their money. They can save enough, especially if you don't think you want to support as much. So that's also the expectations of society and the expectations of their own kids, and these are things that kids grew up with. So let's be careful how we bring up our kids. Yes, spoil them, but like Elikem said, his dad did with him, made him know that, Charlie, you are growing up, this is your responsibility, so that you prepare people's mind for that. If you come and I don't have money for your engagement, go and figure yourself out. You can go and sign. There's no problem with that. If I have to, I'll spoil you.
I think there's an account saying that translates to, if you have grown to the level of marriage, then go and buy your own saucepan or something like that. Oh, yeah. Sarah, you have any concluding thoughts for us?
Yeah, just with managing the expectations, as Mimi said, mine is a strategy, but it's not a healthy one, but I can still share it. I have decided to manage the expectations of my parents so that they know that, well, thankfully they are both still gainfully employed, and so that they know that if they have not put structures in place for their pensions or their retirement, then they will, in fact, they will not be pleased, because even I let them know in advance that I may not be the one necessarily, supporting them. So when it comes to health insurance, like, are they getting a health insurance? Am I getting a life insurance policy for them, something like that, so that when they eventually are retired, and right now that they are able to pay for the insurance premiums, so that when they get on retirement, other investments and then other, like, these insurance will be the things that will be supporting them, and not necessarily for me, because they really know that left to my brother and I, dear, so you need to manage the expectations. Thank you.
Charlie. Giving them the real tea, they should brace themselves and start putting the structures in place. That's good. And you say that it's quite harsh, but at least it's not like you're leaving them be, you're giving them options so that they can work with that. So I think that's a good idea. Lee, how about you? Any concluding thoughts?
I think we left out one very vital section, which is in-laws.
Continue.
So most of the time it is men having to, how do you call it? Take care of their wives, say siblings or parents, and that one also becomes. So I think we left that portion of the black tax. So again, I would like to ask the house, how do you manage that?
Hello.
Okay, Mimi, please, yes, continue.
Please, I'm not a man, but this is what I think I would have done.
Or what is your husband doing?
Pardon?
Or what is your husband doing?
Oh, no, let's talk about what I will do.
Okay.
I think that some of these conversations are things that we should have. Unfortunately for me, when I was getting married, I was quite young, at least compared to my mates that got married. And so some of these important conversations I didn't have. But I think all these are things that you should discuss, before going ahead with if you can't support your wife's parents, she should know where to end. Like, she should know how to deal with that conversation, and not bring it your way. So that it's like, hey, who couldn't do anything you're doing? And she should be able to, take a stance, so that it's not now that you are married that you have in-laws that is going to be whatever. Or if you can support, to what extent. I think some of these discussions should be had before marriage. Maybe you can look at different scenarios, being that the parents may age, maybe at that point they are still working, but you should try and just think about the future. What is likely to happen? Can you support? Can you not support? How much, by what extent, how much can we support by? Can we have maybe an arrangement for our parents? Maybe you can either give them the money or put the money in an account
where you know that when such expenses come, we'll use this money to take care of them. I think it should be clear from the set go. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult, because maybe I expect that you should give them money every day, and I don't think the same. It's going to be a problem, and in a very short time you end up separated. So I think that these are very, very important conversations we should have before marriage.
Okay, that's interesting, Mimi. I tell you my experience. There was, for me, before I got married, I anticipated the kind of burdens that would come on me. I knew that my father-in-law had very young children. Very young children. This even reminds me of something. So let me take a step back. Thinking about when I'm thinking about how I want to have my life, I think you guys who've been at Money Convos, you know, Charlie, your mandem is just trying to get very wealthy, you know. And one of my concerns about having children is, before I have children, you see, there has to be a certain floor of security under me that I can't fall under, because people will be depending on me. Another thing that perhaps I don't tell a lot of people is, I ask myself, I have an older sister, I have a younger sister. Very young. My father has a pension baby, if you know what I mean. So I ask, if my older sister has children, and touch wood, something happens to my older sister, her children are moving in with me. It's not a conversation. It's not even a conversation. So by the time I'm ready to have children, can I afford to have twice the number of children I want to have? Okay, fine. Then I'll have 2 instead of 4. You understand? So that I can still leave enough room to take care of 4. So then, as I was coming to get married, I realized that no, my father-in-law has children who are, I think at the time, one was it 12 or so, and another one much younger, way less than 10. I was like, this thing, look at chairman's age. Touch wood, something happens, it will fall on his older children. My wife being one of those. Can we handle that burden? So I kept it in my mind that this is a kind of situation that could trigger something. So if it comes, cool. When we got married, we got funeral insurance and all those things for our parents, and especially not even so much for my family, because I've been very fortunate when it comes to black tax. I've been fortunate. It's not me. I'm not. I don't. The times when before I got married, I was paying for my mother's maybe DSTV or some internet, but like my mother would just want to take something from me. Just, it's nice. It's just nice, It's no burden. It's always my mother just giving me stuff, right? Clothes, for example. Many years I never bought clothes. This woman be walking around in the market and just be buying me stuff and things. Anyway, so I've been fortunate, right? But I had a conversation with my mother. So I've spoken about my father-in-law side. Then my mother-in-law side too. I knew there were health concerns. I had a conversation with my mother that, hey, I'm thinking about marrying this person, such and such. It's a concern that I have. And again, being fortunate to have my mother who is so generous, so kind, she was like, you know what? Sometimes you come into people's lives to help them. So it's going to be an expense, but at least it's getting into it. Plan for it. You can't put parents on your own health insurance with your employer or whichever institution. It would be expensive to get insurance for them, but manage it. So I went in there fully aware of what's happening. And when some of those there are regular monthly expenses that come, but when the extraordinary ones came, I was like, well, imagine this person is part of my family now, and while I was paying all those bills, trust me, a lot of money has gone into some of these in-law expenses. Paying, sometimes you have to take care of rent, you have to take care of health bills, you have to take care of a whole lot of things. All right, things that you normally wouldn't do, and as the money is going, it's not coming to you, it's not your benefit, right? But I looked at it from a point of love. this person is now part of my family. Even if I'm not even thinking about that person, I'm thinking about it as even the person, my wife. If I love her, I should just assume it's an expense that I'm incurring for her. You get what I'm saying? So that's how I viewed it. It's looking back, it's a lot of money that has gone into some of these things, but at the time, I had no regret. So as a Bema dear, as a man who is thinking about these things, you have to ask, are you willing to take on some of these responsibilities? There are some people I've dated in the past, and I'm like, you know what? I'm really glad I didn't think about marrying this person. Because the black tax that would be coming from that side, Charlie, I wouldn't be where I am right now. I'm telling you, it would be way more. It would be worse. And also, if you are fortunate to have a certain type of family, having this conversation with my mother, for example, ahead of time, my mother was also prepared to support because I've been fortunate. My parents are actually, they are not rich, but they can take care of themselves, you know. So I could realize that sometimes I'll be there and my mother will send her driver to bring us food stuff. And I'm like, okay, in fact, since you are in the neighborhood, since you are here, why don't you just let me give you this portion, send it to my mother-in-law's place, right? Then the driver is like, oh, no, don't worry. Madam has already said I should take, there's another basket in the car. Madam said I should take it to the other house. And I'm like, you see, because I got my family to understand this, my mother would, sometimes some things will happen and my mother will say, oh, you cry, you have other bills. So my mother won't even disturb me about certain things or want to take care of some of this. Not because she has an abundance, but because she understands. So yeah, having some of these conversations about expectations are fine. Last thing is, I know it's been a long talk, but Charlie, it's important. Some of these things are close to home. There have been certain ridiculous things that have happened on the external family side, and those ones, when I realized that, you see, you know, when somebody's misbehaving, they are misbehaving and it's coming. It's misbehaving and it's coming. Somebody go to school, you don't go to school. You go and be living a reckless life, and then you go and spoil somebody's thing, or you go and owe somebody some unnecessary debt or something. You expect me to come and pay. It won't happen. So when those things, when like in situations where I saw some of those things happening on the external family side, I was like, see, this matter, let's nip it in the bud. This is how we should solve it. I'll give you my advice. I'll tell you how you can also use your own resources to try and resolve the problem. But if you don't want to take that advice and you are not on your own taking corrective measures, I am not living a good life, saving myself drama for you to come and afford to spend on your drama, which you don't want to take care of. Those ones that don't even entertain those conversations. Say, yeah, I know people are suffering through that problem, but frankly speaking, let it not be spoken about in my house. I'm sorry, I tried to help. You didn't want my help. I'm done. Anything else we can talk about, this particular matter, no. So sometimes you have to put your foot down, right? Unfortunately, I never heard about that matter again. So yeah, you have to put your foot down on certain things, but the rest, Charlie, sometimes you have to handle it from the point of love. Lead, I hope, does this help?
Yeah, it helps. But on that note, you don't get kiddies for day. You be like your family baby, pal.
Please, my kiddies now, you know, it's interesting. It's interesting. My younger sister just started high school, so I don't get kiddies like that. But it's interesting, right? And my parents divorced earlier, and I think some years down the line, hopefully, when I can properly afford the black taxes, when I'll have to be paying it again, being quite fortunate. And I'm looking, and it's coming from these things where I'm looking at my younger sister and I'm like, how can I set her up well such that she'll be fine? You know, and I want to go out of my way. I was even having conversations with my father. Oh, Charlie, so what about college for her and things? You know, at least while I'm in the US, let's look at some options. I reached out to some of my contacts, people who did college in the US. I organized some calls with her, you know, because I feel like some of these things help people. Teach a man to fish, right? That story, that analogy. So I'm like, I'd rather help my younger sister be in so good a position that she will not need my help. You know, so that's also where I'm thinking about it from, because I know it's a pension baby. I know old man has probably dug a hole somewhere. He's walking around like a pauper, but he's dug a hole somewhere that he can take off necessary expenses. But in case it falls on me, I should be ready for it. Yeah. So that's my take on my experience. Lee, back to you.
Yeah, I think your last submission kind of gives a better solution to the whole problem, right? Like, I think if you can help whoever is dependent on you to be sustainable on their own, then you sort of cut off everything. Sometimes it won't work, but then I think taking that tangent mostly reduces your burden or reduces your stress in most cases.
That's true. That's true. That's very true. Teach a man to fish. So help people ahead of time so that they can sustain themselves and not be a burden to you. Okay, so also soon we've spoken for about an hour. We can wrap this conversation up, and perhaps I'll let Edem and Mimi give us some Edem and Mimi give us some concluding thoughts on what people should be thinking about in terms of black tax in these hard times. While they think about their closing thoughts for us, I would just want to remind you all to follow us here on Twitter, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and also on Instagram, go follow Investment Friend. Investment Friend, you would have Mimi and Seram giving personal finance coaching. Usually when we talk about things more finance, technically finance, we say go talk to an advisor, so you could, they do financial coaching for women. You could see this as an avenue for you to get personalized advice. Sometimes the things that we say may be all over the place or maybe general, but you want people who can assist you one-on-one and take into consideration your personal situation. So get on Instagram, look out for Investment Friend, follow them, reach out to them, and they put out a lot of nice content. I'm quite jealous of some of the content that they put out. So I think that's a good avenue you can look at. Even if you're a man, remember, Charlie, sometimes the black tax is even to your sisters, to your friends. So follow so that they can also see to follow, and then they would benefit from that information. If you miss any of our conversations, you can just go to YouTube, search for Money Convos, go on podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast, go listen to just search for Money Convos and listen to any conversations that we've had in the past. We keep bringing up not just the conversation we had this week, but older conversations in the archives. We bring them up. Just yesterday night, I got some feedback from a friend I have in the US. She is originally from Jamaica, I believe. Yeah, she's originally from Jamaica. She's here in the US. And I told her about some of the stuff I do, and she listened and she said she loved the conversation we had last week on money and relationships. So, Charlie, guys, the conversations we are having is not just for the benefit of people in Ghana or people in Africa. It's to the benefit of anyone. And I told her, Charlie, the feedback she gave was very good. This is the kind of stuff that keeps us going, knowing that we are making impact in people's lives. So yeah, that's there's some housekeeping information. Lee, you want to say comments on this?
Yeah, I was saying if you can give out the handles on the real social media platforms.
Oh yeah, sure. So it's Money Convos GH on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Money Convos GH. On YouTube, you can just search. I think it's the YouTube URL / Money Convos GH. Podcast, just search for Money Convos and you'll be fine. And Investment Friend also, when you go on Instagram, just search for Investment Friend. Sarah, can you confirm, is it at Investment Friend?
So it's investment_friend.
Great, thank you. And thank you, Lee, for drawing attention. So at investment_friend. Great. Okay, all right. So let's hear from Mimi and then Edem, and then we call it a night.
Yeah, just to add to the Investment Friend advertisement. Guys, if you want your lady to buy you a Val's Day gift next year, please let her join. Ask Seram what she did for her husband's 40th. We are all about spreading our men, so please follow. Let them follow. In fact, all your female, or even those that you may iron from afar, tell them to follow us. Anyway, by the way, this has been an important conversation. For most Africans, black tax is something that we have to deal with. It's because we don't have a social welfare system. When your family is, in trouble, there isn't much. Even national health insurance and all that doesn't really work. So what happens? They would have to fall back on, friends and family. It is what it is. what can we do? Two things, like Siram said, we can put it in our budget, make a provision for it. But as much as possible, let's be real with what we can do and what we cannot do. Remember that you can't pour out of an empty cup. And so if you pour so much that you don't have enough to keep on going, at a point you are not going to be able to support these people. Also for the younger ones, I think that let's be very careful about how we help them. Teaching them how to fish is very important. Teaching them, they come to you with one need. You've got to teach this person how to save. Let them join money convos. Let them listen to these conversations. Yes, they'll insult you, but I'm sure after a while they would come to appreciate it. But if you are always dishing out money, and what if you are not there one day? What are they going to do? How are they going to survive? So I don't think that's a very good way of dealing with problems young people bring. The question is, how do you help them? I remember years ago going to see somebody about not having a job, and by the time I left the place, my head was aching because he made me know that you are not thinking. Have you thought about this opportunity, that opportunity? And honestly, I hadn't thought about anything when I went to sit. So I think that we should start having like those tough conversations with people, start giving them opportunities to grow, and they'll thank you later on. With the older one, it is what it is. Let's try and support as much as possible, but let's do it within our means. And then for ourselves, how can we also ensure that we are not a burden on the next generation? For me, I think it's all about planning. Yes, income is not enough in this side of town, but as much as possible, let's try and plan our future so that we don't become even if your family needs to support you, maybe once in a while, it shouldn't be all the time. Like, Mimi Luasa, then you are calling me for, like, nah. Maybe there's a healthcare, a one-off expense, and you need help. That's fine. So I think that that's what it should be. Let's support, but let's also make sure that we avoid that with our future generations. Because I'm sure Elikem would attest to the fact that when you move outside, you realize that you are sitting in a class with people, or you are working in a place with people because they are not your mates, because somebody has laid the foundation that they are building on. So we should also strive to do that. Even if we won't put a foundation, let's make sure that we are not digging a hole for the younger generation.
Maybe just a quick aside. See, what color of Bentley don't you want? Is it that you won't find here? We are in the same class, but we are not mates because their parents set it up very nice. So I second that motion. We have it may not have gone well for us, but we can set it up nice for other people. Great. Adam, this is a very tough act to follow. Blink twice if you don't want to continue, and I'll save you because Mimi has done it all.
Charlie, I said Mimi just has the bars, like
you understand.
So just pretend hey Charlie. But I think to just sum it up, I think that last part, what you were saying earlier, and also Mimi reiterated about the fact that we should help those who are younger in particular, not by just dishing out money to them, but also teaching them and let them join money convos, listen to the wonderful discussions we had. And, it's interesting. I was just thinking that some of the stresses I had when I decided at the beginning, those times I used to teach a lot of people about investment and things. Most of those people around my circle, those people don't put any kind of burden because they've at least sort of sorted out their personal finances. And I think it's a good thing if we can all do that to help those around us to sort out their personal finance, because in the end, it is us they come to. Okay, so if we can teach the younger people, teach those around us, let's all arrange ourselves. If we are in our families, maybe you and your siblings come together, how can we plan some trusts for our children? I mean, what are the things we can think about? Let's look broader, set up systems so that, well, probably we may not be the ultimate beneficiaries, but at least our children will start off from a very far, far better situation than we have found ourselves. And then in the long run, the problem of this black tax and the stresses it brings on people, I believe it's one of the things that kills a lot of people in this side. Okay, a lot of people die right at early ages because of hypertension and all of that. And I believe black tax is a major contributor to that. So if we can help ourselves get out of this situation, it will be very, very good. Thank you all for coming today. And it was a great discussion, Elikem.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you all for joining in. That we need to help ourselves get out of this. That vicious cycle of the black tax has to end, and it starts with us. So thank you all for coming to share. Thank you, Lee, for joining again. You joined last week and you've joined today. I hope we see more of you. Shout out to Paulina in the audience, Shandolph, Mr. Beckley, Mame, and my very dear Ifriye, who is annoying me. But yes, story for another day. You people did, when you were talking last December, Ifriye came to ask for certain things in the office. You've done. But anyway, yes, thank you. I really appreciate your time. And to everyone listening after, keep coming back for more wherever you are listening to this. There will be more episodes every couple of days. Do take care. Enjoy the rest of your week. And goodbye.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our thoughts. I hope you learned a thing or two and start practicing. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, and Facebook. And subscribe to our YouTube and podcast. Do tell a friend about Money Convos so we all become wealthy together. Talk to you soon. Bye.